Hey, this is Jon Gordon with Positive You, and today my guest is Kavon Massenburg. Kavon, how you doing?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm doing amazing. How are you doing?
Doing great. So we met at a soccer match. You had just spoken at Tony Robbins' big event on the huge stage. Take us back to the beginning. How does Kavon Massenburg end up on this big stage when you are how old right now?
I'm 25.
25. Take us back to the beginning of your journey in life.
Yeah. Wow, man. Where do I start? I come from Indianapolis, Indiana. Early in my life, I got involved in the streets. When I was about 15 to 16, I went to juvenile for a firearm and a bulletproof vest. When I was 18 years old, I got shot in the head. A bullet kind of went in on one side and out the other, kind of right underneath my earlobes on both sides, man. Was super blessed to have survived that, right? But at that time, I didn't realize the severity of what had happened, So in that mindset of being in the streets, so the best way I can relate to you, John, is that if you were an investor, right, and you just made one bad investment, you're not just going to stop investing, right? You're just going to take it as part of the game, part of that territory. So in that mindset, that's kind of what I took it as. So I kept hustling and everything until I ended up going to jail between 19 and 21. Went to jail 4 different times. And my last time being in jail, I was in jail downtown Marion County, Indianapolis, facing up to 10 years in prison, had open cases in 4 different counties throughout Indiana, and I lost over 6 figures. And that's kind of when life got real for me. And it was at that moment that being in jail was like my wake up moment, People in life, it's so easy to go through life and you kind of like you ever hear yourself like digging yourself in a hole, right? I was like digging myself in the hole, but I didn't have to face it until I'm like 10 feet under and I'm looking and I'm like, how did I even get to this point? And it's funny that we're talking about this in the times we're in, because I think that the time we're in right now with the whole coronavirus that's going on, it is a small comparison to what it's like being in jail, in the sense that people are getting laid off of work, people are not working, people are at home. You're pretty much confined to home, quarantined, right? But you have to start when you don't have all of the outside influences. It gives you time to be still. And in that stillness, you're able to really ask yourself the important questions in life. Like, is this what's important? What do I want my life to be? Is this all there is to life? How did I even get to this point, right? People are asking themselves those questions now, right? You're laid off from a job working at an arena, or you get fired and you just like, people are college semesters are getting suspended. So like people are having the stillness in order to refocus. So that's kind of what jail did for me. And I just get back to myself, like, why am I here? I had a lot of friends that's been killed. 2 of my friends were on the news for getting killed when I was in jail. So to me, sorry about that. To me, I was just like, there has to be something better. So kind of fast forward, I spent about a year in jail, got out, got sentenced to 3 years on house arrest. On house arrest, I started diving back into personal development. One day on YouTube, I hear this guy talking about personal power and being the best version of yourself, right? And it was Tony Robbins.
With a really deep voice like this.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
And it was Tony Robbins. And at that time in my life, it was just like speaking to me. So I looked up a Tony Robbins event. I heard him on YouTube, and I watched like YouTube compilations of like 10 different speakers. So like it's like 30 minutes long. So I'm listening. That's when Tony Robbins popped up, and I'm like, who is this guy that's talking about personal power? Like at 3 minutes and 23 seconds, right? So I like go to the comments to see like who's the guy speaking at 3 minutes. It's like Tony Robbins. So I started just like binge watching Tony, man. And then I heard about him talk about his Netflix special, I'm Not Your Guru. So I watched his Netflix special, and when I watched it, something in my mind clicked. And it was like, I have to be in that room. That at that time in my life, I didn't know what better was, but better to me was in that room. So I look up the event and to see if it's passed yet, and it hasn't passed. This is like around April or May, and the event was in December in West Palm Beach. So it had a pass. I was like, cool. And I look at the ticket, and the cheapest ticket on sale, early bird special, was $5,000. Like, like on sale, right? Like, that's the on sale price. And how crazy it sounds, John. How crazy it sounds. Something about it was calling to me. At this time, I wanted to go, but the only problem is that first of all, I'm on house arrest. I have another like year and a half, 2 years left. So I'm not even allowed to leave my mom's basement, let alone the state of Indiana.
How
To
old
go
are
to
you?
Florida.
How old are you at this time?
At that time, I am 22. I think 22. Yeah, 22. So that was about 3 years ago. So yeah, I got off of house arrest about 2.5 years ago. So around that time, 22, 23. So yeah, the first problem was that I'm on house arrest. I'm not allowed to leave. And the second problem is that I only have $100 to my name, and the ticket is $5,000. But something in my mind clicked and said, like, I have to get there. So I had a Jordan shoe collection. I had like 50 pair of Jordans. I sold all my Jordans. I was working at a warehouse job, making like $12 an hour. Worked like 60, 70 hours a week. And I bought the ticket for $5,000 the last day. It was still on sale. Went out to the conference, and it slept in my car at the conference because I didn't have money for a hotel. And it completely changed my life, man, and put me on the path that I'm on now.
What did you hear at his conference that day that spoke to you most, that was so impactful? Because we often ask, can a speech change a life? As a speaker, I believe it can. You're a speaker, you know it can. But what was it that he said that changed your life in that moment?
Yeah, 100% a speech could change your life, man. I look at it. I look at language like this in communication. That if I had in front of me a safe, and the safe had 10 different number combinations, right? And I gave you the numbers to get into the safe, and I asked, okay, John, if the safe is right here, and I gave you the numbers, could you get into the safe?
Of course.
Exactly. That's everybody's initial instinct to say, of course, right? But
Oh,
what
the
if
right combination. The right combination.
Bam. If I didn't tell you the combination, then you can't get into it. So that's how I look at language, is that a speech is just language. And when you say the right things in the right sequence, then it can open people's mind, open people's hearts, and open people to a better version of themselves. And that's what a speech can do. And so when I was at Tony event, Tony talked about limitations on the mind, right? And how everybody's operating from limitations. So I'm at this event, and it's about 5,000 people from like 20, 30 different countries. And of course, it's not, well, myself, I'm 23 at this time, right? It's not a lot of 20-year-olds. It's not a lot of African Americans at this event. I'm like one of the only, I probably is like one out of like 5, not even that, 20-year-old African Americans at this event, right? So everybody's asking like, hey, what brought you here? And then the event is $5,000. So it's not just a common, let me just go check this out event, right? So people are like, hey, what brought you here? Because it's a very prominent, it's Tony's like most prominent event, and it's an amazing event, deep depth into like life and what your belief system is, and values and everything. So I was telling everybody for myself, like a lot of times everybody asks what brought you here. So for myself, I was just like, oh, I just watched a documentary. That's what brought me. But I had a limitation because I had a fear that people were going to judge me. If I said, oh, I just got off of house arrest 2 weeks before this event. I made it off of house arrest 2 weeks before the event. So Tony talked about limitations on the mind. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to test this guy out. Like, I'm gonna challenge him just to see if it works, right? So Tony talks about limitations, then he talks about proximity is power. So every break during this event, Tony has a group of people that sit at the front rows of this event. It's called his platinum members that pay like a yearly membership to be a part of the inner circle type of thing. So this particular event was all on one level. So every break, I would just go down to the front. I mean, after Tony talked about the limitations with his mind, I was like, let me try him out. So that next break, I went down to the front and wanted to shake as many people's hands as possible. And this time, I was going to tell them why I was actually there. Like, let me see if people are actually going to judge me, right? So I went down and I shook somebody's hand and I said, hey, listen, my name is Kavon Massenburg. I'm 22 years old. I'm starting this new journey of my life. If there's one piece of advice you could give me, what would it be? The third person hand that I shook, no, I'm waiting to talk to the third person, and a guy taps me on my shoulder. And he's like, hey, what brought you here? And I was like, oh, I just got off a house arrest. This is the third. And he stops me. And he said, you say you want to inspire millions of people, right? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, let me record you telling your story. So he pulls out his cell phone and he just records me there on the spot. And he records me telling my story. He puts it on Facebook and it got thousands of views. And that's actually what propelled me to start speaking. But it was that conversation of limitations that ultimately changed my life. Because I was like, wow, if this was a limitation, if people are not judging me off of this and people are willing to mentor me and support me through this, then what else have I made up in my mind that's not true? And that kind of getting myself to ask myself those questions, like what other limitations do I have, is what ultimately changed my whole life.
So what brought you to the big stage with Tony? How did he find out about you? How did he get in touch with you? How did you connect with him?
Yeah, man. So it was, I was at Tony's business event. It's called the Business Mastery. I was there last January of 2019. And at this event, Tony has a small competition. And you get in teams of 8. And the competition is to see what team can add the most value to the room, right? What team can add the most value to the room. So I got on my teams of 8 and my team saw my t-shirt. So after my first date with Destiny, the event that I was talking about with the guy put the video on YouTube, I started speaking across the country and I started a t-shirt. Because really at Tony's event, that when Tony talked about purpose, that I really started thinking like, what is the purpose of my life? And when I discovered my purpose, I'm like, Kavon, why am I just not thinking about what my purpose is? That growing up, you get asked, where are you going to go to school? Where are you going to work at? What college do you want to attend? But nobody ever asked me, what do I think I'm here for? What is my purpose? And it's such a profound question, but 9 times out of 10, you can never know the answer to a question you've never been asked. So I took it upon myself to change that narrative, and I started this t-shirt. It says, my purpose is, and has a blank box underneath for you to write in your purpose with a Sharpie. So I'm at this event, and my team saw my t-shirt, and they're like, Kavon, like that t-shirt adds value to the room because it challenges people to discover their purpose. So like, long story short, the event started on like, I think it was like Friday, or it was Friday and the event was over on Wednesday night. I think it's a 5-day event, 5 or 6 day event. The event's over Wednesday night. We ordered 1,000 t-shirts, 1,000 pink My Purpose t-shirts, right? The t-shirts were supposed to get there on like Sunday or Monday, like Monday morning, but they didn't come until Tuesday at 8 p.m. And the event was over Wednesday at 8 p.m. Within 24 hours, we sold all 1,000 t-shirts. We raised $30,000 to send minority underprivileged youth to Tony Robbins. And we won the competition. We won because of that time spent 24 hours. So I had to get up on stage with Tony, me and the team, and tell the story to my audience for a quick second. And yeah, it was completely amazing, man. And
when you were selling the shirts at the event, I mean, Tony was allowing you to do that, to sell your shirts at the event?
Yeah, so because it wasn't selling it for a profit. At this event, the business event, the kind of point of it is that people like sell or do something in order to raise money for a certain cause, right? So, I mean, people are raising money to free girls from sex slavery. I think that team ended up raising like $60,000, and child trafficking and all of it. So everybody is offering some type of product or service in order to raise money in service of something else, you know? So it wasn't like me selling a t-shirt for profit for the company, but it was all donation based. All the t-shirts were donation based, with donations 100% going back to helping the kids. So we raised $30,000. We got up on stage. Tony matched us in order to raise enough money and tickets to send 70 kids to his Unleash the Pride Within event. Last March, we took 10 kids. And then in November, it was 50 of us. And then we scheduled 80 of us to go a few weeks ago before the event got canceled. But in July, we'll be taking 80 underprivileged minority youth to this event. And our goal is to maintain at least 100 kids moving forward.
How did you raise the money for yourself to go to Business Mastery that time?
Yeah, it was man.
Were you making money at that time now, working and speaking, and that's how you were able to pay to go to the next event?
Yeah, no, I wasn't, man. After the Tony Robbins of my first event, when I started speaking in my t-shirts, it's like that was my full-time thing. And getting started off was, I mean, it was rough. I didn't just start off and instantly getting paid to speak. And I mean, I was just hustling, man, trying to sell t-shirts, speaking, and doing whatever I could to do to just pay rent. So I was like barely getting by. I ended up at at another Tony. So I've been to 12 Tony events in the last 2.5 years, man. Talk about full immersion and repetition. But I met my mentor. A guy named Jonathan Cohen, and I met him in December of 2018. And upon meeting him, he was a business partner with Tony and was speaking on Tony's stage at Tony's business event. Somebody told him about me, and we met. And within 30 minutes, he offered me to come live at his house in New York to mentor me, teach me everything I need to know about business. And yeah, so 2 weeks later, I was living at his house in New York. And then he took me to Business Mastery with him because he was speaking at the event, and that's how I made it to Business Mastery. And now he's my business partner with Idea Lab New York.
Talk about your business that you're running now.
Yeah, so we took after the t-shirts, man. After that event was really pivotal for kind of the company, because it was at that event that at the Tony Robbins the business event when we had the 1,000 t-shirts that we were like, okay, there's something good here. Like anytime out of an audience of 2,300 people that you could get rid of 1,000 t-shirts in 24 hours. And I mean, these are people from 30 different countries. There's like 8 different languages being translated, right? And you was able to get like 1,000 t-shirts gone in 24 hours. Like this narrative is powerful. You know, I look at it as I look at purpose as a universal language, that like love is a universal language. You don't have to be from the same background, the same demographic, the same religion to understand love, right? And purpose is one of those universal languages as well. That purpose is something that everybody could get behind, no matter religious beliefs, background, age range, any of it, none of it matters. Purpose is something that everybody could get behind. So it was like, after seeing that at Business Mastery, it was like, okay, like how do we make this into a scalable company? So when I met Jonathan, I remember he saw my t-shirt and he was like, what do you use to write on your t-shirt? And I was like, Sharpie. And he was like, so why don't you have an endorsement by Sharpie? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I'll teach you everything you need to know about business. So what we ended up doing is we cultivated this into a company that is scalable. We're starting to manufacture footwear. The company name is Soul Purpose. Every shoe has a soul. Every life has a purpose. And it's really about cultivating footwear that people could use to actually walk in their purpose. Like, what would it look like to, the same way that you write your purpose on your t-shirt, what would it look like to write your purpose on the insole of your shoe? So every step you take, you're actually walking in your purpose, right? Or what would it look like to imprint people's purposes on the bottom of their shoe? So every step they take in their world, it leaves an imprint of their soul on the earth. Like if they step in mud or sand or snow. So that's what we're really looking to create now. So within these last, I partnered up with them kind of like third quarter of last year. We've hired an amazing executive team. Alan Head was the former executive vice president of New Balance. He is our executive chairman. Victor Avelis was the general manager of PF Flyer and the head of lifestyle footwear at Puma. He's our chief product officer. We're in the process of raising $1 million. A third of that has already been raised. We have an amazing advisory board with our mutual friend, Tom Penn, the president of the LAFC, and just so many amazing people that are on board to really bring this project to life. And we're planning on launching and bringing this shoe to life around third, fourth quarter of this year, man.
Soul Purpose.
Soul Purpose, SOLE. Every shoe has a soul. Every life has a purpose. And this is exclusive, John. You know what's so funny is that I haven't broadcasted this anywhere. So like this is literally an exclusive. Like I haven't talked about this on social media or anything at all because we're just really putting everything together for launch. So this is you got an exclusive drop.
I love it. We won't tell anyone yet. We'll wait.
Yeah, you got an exclusive drop. So like once this launches, it's like you heard it first here on the podcast, man.
I love the idea. It is brilliant. It's amazing. And you're wearing the sweatshirt right now that says "My purpose is," with a space to write. What is your purpose, Kavon?
My purpose is to inspire billions of people to discover their purpose. It's like if I could be, I look at myself as a mirror of possibility, man. That is like with everything I've been through in my life. I mean, I have multiple felonies and being in the streets and just, I mean, everything, getting shot, everything that I've been through in my life in order to get to the point that I'm at now is that anything is possible. I'm a firm believer that anything is possible, right? But I'm a firm believer that when you discover it all starts with discovering your purpose. Like my purpose is my North Star in my life. Every step I take is in alignment with that. If it's regardless if it's with my company, with the shoes and the apparel, if it's with the World of Purpose Foundation, taking kids to Tony Robbins and taking kids to other transformational experiences. Regardless if I'm speaking on stage and discussing and supporting people and discovering the purpose, everything that I do in my life is in service of supporting people and discovering what their purpose is. And I think that was the pivotal step for myself is that when I honed in on what my purpose was and I realized the power of myself, and I look at purpose as a never ending journey. I don't look at it as a mission. Like a mission is mission, and then there's a mission complete, right? You know, when you discovered your purpose, when you have something that's a never ending journey. And it's a never ending journey. And the key part of it is that it's a never ending journey of contribution, of giving back, of doing something in service of something way bigger than yourself and higher for yourself, man. So my purpose is definitely to inspire people to discover what that is for them. And that when they look at me and everything that I've accomplished and everything I'm going to accomplish in my life, that they see the possibility in themselves, that I'm no better than anybody else. The only difference is that I discovered my purpose and actually believed in it and took action towards that. But everybody in this world could do that. And that's what I want to inspire people to do.
Yeah, I have to ask you this. When you were younger and you were going to jail and dealing with all of that, was there something deep down inside you that said, I'm made for more? Did you know deep down that you were still here to do something great, even though you were facing all those challenges and making those bad decisions?
Yeah, 100%, man. I think that, I mean, I always knew that I had a gift. You know, I mean, I graduated high school early with like a 3.5 GPA, right? Like I wasn't a bad kid. I just had leadership skills that I channeled in the wrong way. But there was, even in the streets, I wasn't looking to be like a drug kingpin or anything of that nature, right? I wanted to have them. I mean, it's like the street dream. People think that, okay, well, let me hustle, let me make the money, and then let me use that money and put it into a business or whatever, right? But I always knew that I could be doing better. I mean, every time I looked in the mirror, I knew that I was better than what I was doing. I was just taking what was the easiest route at that time with something that I knew and that I knew how to handle. And, you know, but I always knew that I could do better. And it wasn't until I was in jail when I had that stillness that I really became present with me surviving getting shot, you know? I didn't look at it as a huge deal at that time. I never let somebody tell me I was lucky. Like, oh, you're lucky to survive. No, I was blessed. It's a huge difference. And I never took that. I never took that and became cocky. Like, oh, I'm invincible. Like, I never looked at it like that. I knew I was blessed, right? But it wasn't until I became present with that part that it was like, and I've had many homies that have been killed and everything, that it was like, I have to be here for a reason. Like I have to, in order to, I mean, I've had friends that's been shot in the chest and like if I survive a bullet in the fashion that I did, that I have to be here for a reason. And it was that ultimately kind of what gave me my wake up call. And it was like in jail, it was like, Kavon, this is my last step. Like I've been too close to throwing my life away in prison. I've been too close to death. That if I get out of jail and I go back to the streets, I'm not going to make it out. Like I'm like playing with God at this point. And it wasn't until I really had that realization for myself that ultimately changed my life. But it came from, like you said, it came from seeds of knowing that I could do better. And it just eventually like manifested, you know, into what it is. So that's why I tell people is like, if there's somebody out there that's listening and you know somebody or you yourself are going through like a rough time or you know somebody that's going through a rough time and people, it's so easy to look at somebody's life and say like, oh, this person has been this person like keep putting herself in trouble, and when are they going to learn? They're never going to learn. Like, that's not true. Like, everybody deals with their own amount of pain until they reach their threshold and wake up to do better, you know? So it's like, just stick with that person. You never know when the light is going to click. If I looked at myself, I went to jail 4 different times. I've been shot. There were so many times in my life where it was like, are you not done yet? Like, another time, right? But all of the hardships cultivated and created the person I'm in today. And I have zero regrets and wouldn't take any of it back. So it was like, you don't know the beauty that's working in that person's life as they're going through the hardships and what those lessons would teach them and who it will cultivate them to be in the future. So just stay with that person. Because I know for sure myself, I can never judge anybody else for the troubles they're going through. Because it's so easy to outside looking in and say, Kavon, you should have been and changed your life or woke up. But everything happens in perfect timing. So, yeah.
So true. What do you tell young people today when you speak to them?
I tell young people to really sit down and think about a bigger picture to life. Don't just think about the material accumulation type of things. You know, all of that stuff is secondary to following your purpose. And the easiest way, if somebody's out here listening, they're like, oh, I don't know what my purpose is. It's so easy, right? I do this with thousands of people. People think the purpose of their life is such a complex, mystical paragraph of their life, right? But it's literally 3 easy steps to help you discover that. And this is it. Is that number one is, if every job in this world paid $1, if every job in this world paid $1, and you could do anything in this world, don't think of limitations. You could be a veterinarian, a lawyer, a basketball player, a singer, a rapper. If every job in this world paid $1, what would you do? And then once you answer that question, why would you do it? And once you answer that question, in that realm, somebody discovers what their purpose is, right? So for an example, a kid would say to me, hey, Kavon, if every job paid $1, I would want to be a veterinarian. And I would say, okay, why do you want to be a veterinarian? And they would say, this is a true example. A kid was like, I want to be a veterinarian because I remember when I was a kid, my dog got hit by a car. And we took my dog to the vet, and the veterinarians, they saved my dog. And it made me the happiest person in the world. So I would want to save other people, animals, in order so they could have that happiness that I had. And I would say, okay, cool. So what is your purpose? And they would say, I don't know, man. I've been dealing with this. I was like, oh, you just told me what your purpose is. It could be to save animals, right? That's a never-ending journey of contribution. There's always going to be another animal to save. And it's like, regardless, as long as you're doing that, then you're going to be fulfilled in your life. You could be doing it as a veterinarian. You could be doing it volunteering. You could be doing it any way. But as long as you're doing that, then you're going to be fulfilled in life. And if somebody goes through the why period and they still haven't honed in about that, then ask yourself, what about this lights me up? If every job paid $1 and you choose whatever that is for yourself, what about this lights me up? And within those 3 steps, in that realm, if you really train your listening to listen for it, you're going to hear what your purpose is. Oh, I want to be a lawyer because I want to fight for justice for all. As long as you're fighting for justice for all, you're always going to be fulfilled. Oh, I want to be a teacher because I really want to empower the youth. As long as you're empowering the youth, you're going to be fulfilled. So it's like, in that realm is purpose, man. And this is the narrative that I want to get across to the world, to really support people and making something that's not complex at all, that is in the true depths of every one of us. As long as Kavon is inspiring people to discover their purpose, it could be kids, it could be a podcast, it could be through shoes, it could be through a t-shirt, then I am 100% fulfilled in life, you know? So that's the message that I give to youth when I go to speak. And that's the message that I want to get to the world, is to really discover what that is for yourself. And I mean, I've done this with millionaires, a billionaire, right? Literally. And they would say, like, Kavon, like, I've been a financial analyst for my whole life. and I would really want to teach kids and empower youth, but like I can't just go back and be a teacher. I'm 50, 60 years old now. I would say, cool, I understand that. Go volunteer an hour on the weekend. Go volunteer at the local Boys and Girls Club and just volunteer your time to empower the youth. Go volunteer at a church and work with it. Go volunteer and do that. I guarantee you that's going to be the most fulfilled hour of your whole week. And that 1 hour is going to be the refresher that you need to go throughout your week. So it's like that's the message that I look to get across to the world, is to really discover what your purpose is. And those 3 simple steps will help you do that.
Man, I love it. You are wise beyond your years. Brilliant. And such great insight, because
Thank you.
a job is just a way to live your purpose. And it just depends on what that job is. But if you have a greater purpose, you can find many ways to live that purpose. I wrote a book, The Seed, which is about finding your purpose. So can't wait to send you a copy, but you broke it down so simple in terms of, what would you do? And then why would you do it? And so often that why may take many forms. You may think you want to be a teacher, but you start teaching and realize, I don't really like teaching, but maybe I like Sunday school. Maybe I don't like Sunday school. Maybe I like to do an online tutoring program where I'm still helping and teaching, but I'm doing it online. I love that aspect of it. So you'll find the various vehicles to do it, but knowing your purpose. For sure. And when you start living on purpose, what happens is it leads you to your purpose.
100%, man. And absent money, right? That's why I said if every job paid $1. Because if you ask somebody what job you want to do, their mind is automatically going to, okay, what job makes the most money? What do I want to do? How can I be financially free, right? But absent money, you're going to do what you love. You're not going to go and be a banker if every job paid $1 and you hate banking. You'll do it. You will stand for it if you want to make the money and everything. But if every job paid $1 and that's not your real passion, then you're going to do what you... I mean, I've heard people say that I would want to be a cashier because they want to just have that 30 seconds to make a difference in somebody's life. And if they could do that as a and every job paid $1, then they'll be happy being a... Like people say things that surprise themselves. Like, whoa, what do I mean I want to be a farmer? Like, where did that come from? Like, so absent money, man, you're going to do what you love to do. And that's what I want everybody to really realize for themselves.
Are you working on a book?
I get that all the time, man. I get that all the time. I'm not currently working on typing out a book. But what I am doing is documenting this whole process. And so I think it's important, the documentation phase, and just where we at in life period is because what if you could go back and look at Steve Jobs from the beginning, like videos of him working on Apple and the whole process through the beginning, right? What if you could go look at Jay-Z and look at videos and photos of Diddy and real life, a documenting of their life from the beginning to where it's at now? How much value would that be to someone's life, So that's what I'm looking to do for my stuff. You hear people, once they reach the level of success, people say, oh, I was homeless and I was broke and I was this. And I mean, you hear that common narrative throughout, and not saying that these people aren't. I'm not sitting there just validating them at all. But if I told you about the darkness, you could grasp the concept. But if I took you into the darkness, it's a way different grasping. It's a way different experience. So people would say, when I tell people my story, they'll say, oh, Kavon, you're inspirational. And I'll say, and I remember speaking at a high school, and they just couldn't believe that everything. I'll say, go to my Instagram and scroll all the way down. I never deleted any of my pictures from that time because I want to show people the process. And they'll go through the picture and they'll DM me like, yo, you was really out here in the streets. Yeah, it's different from when I can actually show you than when I could just tell you about it. So I'm really documenting my life now and documenting this process and the conversation so that way when I get to that level, I could put out a documentary kind of encapsulating my life and really take people through it as I'm along on this journey.
Incredible journey. Where can people find more about you, Kavon?
You find me on Instagram, Kavon Massenburg, Kavon Massenburg, Kavon Massenburg on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, KavonMassenburg.com. Check out my website, order a My Purpose t-shirt. And then soulpurpose.com is for the company, soulpurpose.com, SOLE purpose, and now we could go to order a T-shirt and support the brand as well.
When do you think shoes will be out? Maybe later because of the whole coronavirus thing?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, man, we're in interesting times, man. We really are. Our goal is to get it out no later than the end of this year. So around maybe late third quarter, early fourth quarter is what our goal is.
Kavon, thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. And everybody listening out there, I really hope that I can stress this message enough of really discovering what your purpose is. And just follow that, and I promise you everything else will fall in place.